So glad that you could join us. I've got my friend Johnny from Texas, from San Antonio, and my friend Ryan from Myrtle Beach. And thank you guys for joining me today. How are y'all?
Good,
Doing
good. How
well.
about y'all?
Uh, yes, doing fabulous. We were just talking about the pollen, so I do sound nasally. I think Ryan sounds a little congested.
Yep.
I think it's the pollen, which is super bad this year,
Yeah, especially you guys all on the coast. I mean,
right? Yeah. So
yeah,
and it
you
started.
can see it everywhere.
Yeah, and it started
Mhm.
It started early. And hey, Derek, I'm so excited. So, if y'all have any questions, anything you want to tune in, please comment and we will get it answered or at least get a chance to say hey. But let's start with either a funny or scary real estate story. We'll start with Johnny. I'm just going to go in the order which y'all are up here.
Yeah. Well, my scary story of the day is pretty much had a conversation with the 78-year-old lady before actually hopping on this call, and you know, the first thing I got an appointment with her tomorrow, and the first thing she told me is I'm 78 years old and I don't give a damn.
Okay, so she doesn't give a damn about you, about the house. Where are we going with this?
Well, she was just sharing with me, the experiences I mean, she's 78, so I'm sure she sold a house or two in her lifetime, and she's
Right.
just sharing some real estate stories with me, some of her horror stories and everything, and she's just interviewing different realtors, and she was just like, I'm gonna pick the right one for me, and if you're not the right one, then I'm gonna tell you to your face because I'll do it all. So I'm
Okay,
like,
so
okay,
what did she tell you, Johnny?
huh?
So how did it end? What did she tell you?
Well, we got an appointment tomorrow, so
Okay, oh, that's right.
went
It's
pretty
tomorrow.
well. No, it was actually a very, very excellent call. I was on the phone with her for a while, and she's just sharing some life stories with me. She's 78 and getting married in Vegas in October.
Good
You
for
know,
her. Go, mama.
yeah, yeah. For her fiance, he's gonna be with us at the appointment tomorrow, so I'm very excited. Yeah,
Wow.
it was a very pleasant conversation. It wasn't not so much of a horror story, but
So
just
what I want to know after your meeting, I'm imagining her fiance being like 30. So I want to know because it sounds like she's got some kick in her step. So I can just, and she's going to Vegas to get married. So I'm just imagining that's hilarious.
that's
So
that's
Ryan, talk to me. What do you have?
Well, as soon as you said that, I had about five stories that came to my mind. But I guess probably the craziest is I had a listing this a couple of years back, and I've showed it a few times and everything. And she was a little, she's a little different.
Mhm.
But she called me and she's like, I'm very upset right now. She's like, I don't know, what you did, but I know, I know for a fact you took my popcorn. I was like, took my popcorn?
Popcorn?
I was like,
Popcorn?
popcorn. And she's like, look, she's like, I buy gourmet popcorn. She was like, and she's like, who, whatever you did, and you changed it out. She was like, you changed my popcorn. And I was like, no, man. I was like, no, I would never take anyone's popcorn. I do it like a very, very, I mean, it was like a serious conversation. It was so freaking weird
Yeah, over popcorn.
over popcorn. So, anyways, we, she's like, I'm gonna let it slide this once. She's like, but if anything is ever gone from my house again, she's like, we will not be working together. And I'm like, well, fair enough. I appreciate that. I like, but please know that it wasn't me. I didn't take your popcorn. And I was like, didn't you have some construction guys working over there? She's like, yeah. You know what? Maybe they took my popcorn.
You
So that
should have
was,
asked the brand of the popcorn that sent her some of that wonderful gourmet popcorn.
looking back, that would have probably been a good idea. But that's one of the
That's
funniest ones I got.
hilarious. Look, Ryan, Kurt
that.
said that you eat. This is your Kurt, right? He's your buyer's agent.
Yeah, yeah.
And
Hey,
he
Kurt,
says you eat that popcorn for breakfast.
I do.
It's not the gourmet popcorn. It was not taken from the client's
No, this
house.
is the
We can
crap
assure you.
popcorn. Get the cheap stuff.
Yeah, it's right.
So
So
funny.
my most recent, and I love our job, right? Because we are with the public. We're with everybody in the public of all walks, shapes, sizes, everything, right? All demographics, everything. So it's super fun. I think it's super fun, super challenging, but it can be interesting. So I turned down a listing appointment, but this guy, and it is currently listed. So if you're out there, I'm sorry, I'm telling your story because it was a horrible story, but he had a geodome house in Carolina Beach. And if you don't know what a geodome house is it looks like a golf ball when you're inside of it, right? It is circular. Kind of weird. I had never been inside of a geodome house. So finding a front door and a back door, I found rather hard because it's a circle, right? So there's no, when you're inside of it, you get disoriented. But the scary part of it was not only had he continuously added onto the house, but he was not a licensed contractor. And he added on like a breezeway, and then another house that he could rent out for like a bed and breakfast, and then another breezeway and another house, but they were all kind of condemned and falling in. And he had a pool that only had 6 inches of water, and it was more like black slush. And he said there was a hole in it. But when it got scary, and I was very, very fortunate that I had a male teammate that was shadowing me, because where it got scary is the primary bedroom door had a lock on it to get in. So it was a lock on the outside of the door that would allow you to get inside of the bedroom. Okay, right? So as a woman with a man there, I was like, oh my goodness, he's going to lock me in this damn bedroom. So I don't go in the bedroom. I'm kind of getting weirded out. Now we go upstairs, and complete hoarder, like everything you imagine a hoarder. But now we go upstairs, and he informs me that he is not married, that kind of a mail-away bride type thing. And her granddaughter is living there, and her granddaughter also has a lock on the exterior of the bedroom. So now I'm like, hey, what are these odd locks for? And he said, when they misbehave, I lock them in their rooms. And I'm like, when we say them, he's like, my girlfriend is locked in one room. And anyway, it was, to me, it was crazy. He was very, a lot of discriminatory, like very racist, like absolutely no question about his intent. So when I left, he said, just to be clear, I expect my realtor to answer the phone the minute I called. And I said, well, I wish your realtor good luck. And he said, no, you're my realtor. And I was like, absolutely not. There is no way in the world I would ever, 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 ever want to sell your house. And not because, I mean, he was mean, let's be clear, dangerous. I mean, just every, and the house was unsellable. Let's be clear.
Well,
it
was plus the concern that, for some reason you all didn't get along, he might lock his realtor in a closet.
I was a little scared. I am not going to lie to you. You do, we do have to take those safety classes, and I've never really been concerned about my safety. I've been doing it 17 years. There's never been a time that I was like, I'm truly scared. And at this particular moment, I was like, I'm truly scared. And the funny thing, not funny, but it is funny how, like Johnny, you want to be the one that 78-year-old picks. Ryan, you want, in this case, the more I told him I did not want his business, the more he was fighting with me that I was taking his business, to the point that he even called me the next day to tell me I did not have the right to tell him I would not work for him. And I was like, yeah, actually I do.
Yeah.
And funny enough, not funny, but he has had the house listed since 2017, and he's been through 26 different realtors. So let's be clear, I do not be in that mix of that crazy.
That speaks volumes.
Yeah, right. People can be fun. People can be very.
That's a very scary appointment, though.
Well, it gets, and I don't usually do the whole like I'm scared of. I'm usually. Wilmington's a super safe place. I've lived here my entire life. I can usually navigate myself around. But in that exact moment when there were locks on doors and the way he was talking, it did. It did scare me. Get the hell out of there.
Yeah. Anybody, yeah.
Yes. So with the with the real estate commission, real estate conditions. And Derek, you are like very chummy today. Thank you, Derek. Yes, we need a safe word. Yes, we do need a safe word. I had one running,
Yeah.
boating the hell out of there. Um, but what are you guys seeing in the real estate commission conditions? Sorry, after now that we're wrapping up the end of the first quarter, what are you guys seeing? And then what are you kind of projecting basis off your knowledge and experience? What do you think's going to happen in second quarter?
Yeah, we're seeing a huge pickup right now. I think since I think now that we've had interest rates around 6 or 7% and stay the same within that range for about 6 months, I think the market stabilized and the buyers have just accepted this is the new norm. And just like what we learned at R4, historically over the 40-year average, we're still way below that.
That's right.
So we're still in a very good positive place for buyers and sellers now because we actually have inventory now
Right.
for buyers to buy. So I know our markets are very similar. And in our area, it's like we have two different markets. We have our residential market, and then we have our resort market, and which is two completely different markets. But I know you're very familiar. Well, Johnny, pretty familiar with that too.
So the history with Johnny is he was actually in Wilmington. He was a real estate agent in my area, and I didn't get to meet Johnny then. I'm sorry about that. But since then, Johnny and I have been really good friends for the past couple of years, and I have gotten the honor of getting his referrals from his past clients, and I certainly refer my San Antonio people, which I don't have a lot of people moving to San Antonio, but Johnny is the one hands down that I would certainly refer them to. I had one, but I'm working on it, right?
Yeah.
And what are you seeing, Johnny? What is your market like?
Yeah, so we're actually seeing activity pick up since the beginning of this year.
Yeah.
I don't know where it is. It could be I think the public's the sentiment out there. Everyone's kind of gotten adjusted to the interest rates and everything. And San Antonio is a very heavy military market. We have our Army base here. We have Air Force bases here, Randolph and Lackland. But even inventory levels, I've seen buyer activity pick up since the beginning of this year, and even our inventory levels are down approximately about 13%. I would say, ballpark since the beginning of this year, which is very good. And
so wait, let me get that right. Your inventory is down because I know historically everybody's inventory is down, but yours is down even more since January.
Since January, yes.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. So, right before January, between Christmas and the beginning of this year, we were at a little over 10,000 homes for sale. Wow. And now we are hovering around 8,700 on our MLS.
Oh,
so
substantial.
Yeah. I mean, now at the peak of the market last year, we were staying like below 3,000, right below 3,000. So
oh, wow. That's a huge difference.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, more recently, I mean, I'm seeing a lot of activity pick up, and the days on market has gone up a little bit, but that's from last year, from when we were selling houses in a couple minutes.
Right, that's right. And I'm glad to see that. Honestly, for me, when you couldn't even see a house, because like 6 months ago, the market was in such a state of confusion, right? Yeah. To where everybody was like, we have to have this house, and it would hit the market, and I'd have 5 buyers calling me, and they didn't want to see it. They just wanted me to type it as fast as I could. So now you're actually able to get into the homes, at least here, and you're able to see them. And, you're still getting bidding wars sometimes. And then other times you have that ability to negotiate a little bit. So that is a much more comfortable place for me anyway, as a real estate agent, to make sure I'm doing the best job for my clients. Would you guys agree?
At that time, I mean, it's such a shoot, fire, aim market.
Yeah, that's right.
And like it was like that's literally.
Right. That's a good analogy.
It was it was crazy. Felt like we were running an auction.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
So, but I agree. I think so. Around, I guess maybe the middle of January or into January, beginning of February, things had slowed down here pretty drastically, even with buyers. And then now it is, holy cow, I'm back to working 12-hour days again. I mean, and I think, Ryan, I think you're right. I think, last year we went through 4 um, interest rates changes in a 12-month period. That's more than we've historically ever seen. So I think that nobody knew what the hell was going on. And now that it's sort of stabilized, at least for the most part, then it's been real interesting, because I do get my buyers that want to see it at 6 or 6.25. Go ahead and get them locked in, and then when it drops, they're able to jump on that.
Exactly. And it took a while to get that through to a lot of people, because they had the sticker shock, and now that they've accepted it, I believe.
No, I think you're 100% right, and because I think anybody that's slightly older knows that a 3% interest rate is really unheard of, right? But we had that for like 8 years. Yeah. So the newer generation didn't really know anything other than that. But I think it was you, Ryan, that said that within the last 40 years, historically, 6% is pretty low.
Yeah. I think over that 40-year average, I think it was just over 8% as the average over the last 40 years. So yeah,
that's right.
Well below average.
Yes, and I want to tell Derek, please continue. I was just teasing with you. Please continue to add in. Anybody that wants to talk, I would love to see what you have to say. But what about prices? What are you seeing with prices? We'll start with Johnny.
So yeah, actually, I'm glad you asked, because I was actually looking at the prices in here in San Antonio. Average sales price, it hasn't changed much. Actually, matter of fact, it's gone up a little bit. Last year we were around close to 362,000, 361,889 to be exact. And this year we were actually 365, 678. So rounded to the nearest thousand, we're at 366,000.
So tell me where you were last year.
362. So we went pretty much from 362 to 366.
Yeah,
again, I'm rounding numbers here.
And are you looking at like last year being December, or last year being like February?
February, from February to February. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a great question. I'm glad. And now what I have seen the difference in is 2 things, actually, 2 ratios. One is our days on market. Very last year homes were selling so quick. Now our average days on market is at 70.
Wow, 70.
70.
Wow.
Yeah. And also our list to sales price ratio is at 93.5%.
So you're starting to see some of that negotiation.
Yes. Yeah. But, with that said, I mean, as far as the price points go, I mean, they've actually been fairly stable.
Yeah, they had that. That's awesome. That's awesome. And it's also an indication that if buyers are waiting, I mean, this, everybody that I'm talking to, and they finally quit saying it now, but we're not compared to 2008 and 2009, right? Because inventory, when I would go on a listing appointment in 2007, 8, 9, I would tell people they'd have to sign a year listing appointment and tell them it was 9 to 12 months before I could get their house sold. I mean, and now we're talking, Johnny's over here talking 70 days. So, I mean, it's not in the same, it's not even the same realm. It's not the same issues or anything. What are you seeing, Ryan?
Well, I mean, I agree. I mean, when you were talking about back in 2007, 2008, all those buyers that have bought in 2005, 2006 were buying from speculation. Now, I mean, the buyers that I'm seeing it's really supply and demand. Buyers are actually using these homes. It's not a turn it and burn it, flip type market anymore, or like it was back then.
Yeah.
But our average sales price as of today for residential homes is about $355,000.
Wow.
That's our average, or our median. And then our median for condos is about $213,000.
So, and then how has that changed from last year?
We peaked in May of 2022 at $380,000 for the residential, so not a huge difference, but less than 10% difference. And then in a pretty big difference in from May of 2022 to February of 2023, it went from 240,000 was at the peak for the condo.
Wow. So you've gone a long way from 240 to 280, right?
Well, 240 to 213.
230. Okay. Oh,
yeah. And then for the residential, it's from 380 to 355.
Okay, awesome. Well, that's from last year to this year.
Yes.
So, and it's interesting because I was looking up um, our area, and we're still increasing. And I was, what was interesting because I do this every Monday. So every Monday I go through and I start analyzing different data, right? So I
Right.
did think it was interesting that our prices in I'm trying to find this exact sheet. Hold on one second. It went from, so if you looked in January, our prices had fallen. So at the peak of our market was in October, November, and it was 425 was our median price. And then in January, it dropped to 397. And then February, it's back up to 432. So we're higher than we were at the peak of last year.
That's fantastic. Yeah, around October and November in our market, it dropped.
Yeah, it's insane. It's super interesting to me, Ryan, because you are only an hour south of me.
Yeah,
To see the differences.
definitely.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's fun. It's always fun to look at these differences. And then, Ryan, what's your average days on the market?
Well, average days on the market for residential homes is about 86 days.
Okay.
From list to closing. The average, the bottom of the market was, as far as days on the market, would have been April of 2022.
Mm-hmm.
They were turning, within 52 days.
52. So ours are 54. But the one thing that our MLS has changed, and I haven't done a deep dive on how this has affected us, but before, when you had a coming soon, it did not calculate days on the market. And they have changed that. They have just changed that recently for us. So when you are doing a coming soon, which I need to make sure every seller out there in our area understands that it's not to me, I don't like doing coming soons now. Versus 6 months ago, I would have been like, yes.
Yeah.
But today, when it actively works as days on the market, so the general public says, oh, wait, they don't know that you are coming soon for 30 days. They just see your house hasn't sold for 30 days.
Yeah.
Which I think is also attributed to a little bit longer days on the market.
Well, in our area, we can only do a coming soon 24 hours before it goes on the market. For our guidelines or whatever. But like whenever you were doing your comps, like as far as your average days on the market and everything, did you include new construction also, or just resales?
No, so it depended on what I was on mine today.
Yeah.
No, it was just resales.
Okay, that's all I did too. I was just checking.
I know. I didn't know if you were asking me like when I go on a listing appointment. No, that was just resales.
Gotcha.
Yes. And then, do you have a lot? Or I guess you probably have a lot of new construction, right, Ryan?
I mean, there's a lot of new construction in our area. We've got probably 25% of our business.
Wow.
It's been with new homes, new buyers that are wanting to something brand new and shiny.
What about with you, Johnny?
With us, we have I would say probably about 40% new construction.
Oh, wow. Yours is a lot.
Huge. Yeah. Actually, right now, as I look at it, there's so like, as I mentioned earlier, there's about 8,700 homes on the market right now.
Wow.
And approximately 4,000 of those are new construction.
Holy cow.
Yeah.
That is a lot. And I don't know what my numbers are here. If I had to guess, I would think it was more like Ryan's, like 25%. New construction has gone down because the quality, right, has to me. And one of the things I tell everybody out there, if anybody's listening that is not a real estate agent, you should be represented by a buyer's agent when you buy new construction. Because I am here to tell you that when you do those home inspections, I promise you there's going to be a laundry list of things that need to be done on new homes. And if you don't have buyer agency, if you don't have any representation, you're talking to the listing agent or the on-site agent. They don't represent you. They represent the builder. So you just have to make sure having that representation is super important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You agree?
Totally. Absolutely. Yeah.
So do y'all have any new build horror stories?
Oh man.
Or good stories? Don't have to be horror.
Well, we had one. They actually had the inspection done, and everything was done. Everything was, you know, the builder was, said they were pretty much done. We got there, or they had it inspected for new construction, and there wasn't hardly any insulation at all in the attic.
Oh, wow.
And so that was just something that it was just a big deal at the time. And then I had another one where they had centered. It was a big, beautiful, probably $600,000 home, but then they had the door over here, off centered, and then with the window around it and everything. It was. I mean, they were. I don't know how they didn't fix it, but they got it right for the buyer. But
Wow.
that was probably the worst one that I read.
Yeah. What about with you, Johnny? Good, bad, ugly? What do you have?
I actually had one where Ryan mentioned the door. I actually had one this a while back now, but the front door was actually, and this was a custom home, and they were on the water, and they were actually putting a custom made front door up. But when the when we showed up there, pretty much the front door was installed upside down.
Oh, holy cow! That's insane.
The crazy part,
and nobody noticed it when they're coming and leaving the front door.
Right. That's what I was saying. Like, no, shockingly for a while, like nobody caught on. That I'm actually the one I actually saw with the buyers, and we were all like, "We think the door looks upside down."
That's insane. What?
Wow.
Yeah.
That is crazy. I had one just recently, and the trusses, right? So the trusses are pre-built a lot of times for the roofs, and the trusses one of them was cracked and missing a beam. That we had to obviously get it fixed, but we also needed a structural engineer stamp of approval to make sure that the way that was fixed would hold up for the life of the home, because that was pretty scary. Then my daughter had a scary experience with water intrusion in her house, and the builder could not, and it started within 10 weeks of her moving in, and it ended up costing her $20-some thousand to remediate the mold caused directly by the builder, because once we identified where the water was coming from, he cut into the sheetrock and left it there. So all the mold became spores, right? And went into, it was insane. $21,000. The builder tried not to make it right. But when I quickly went in there and was like, hey, listen, builder, we've represented 17 homes in the past 12 months in this neighborhood.
Yeah.
Let's start knocking on doors and seeing who else has these problems, because I'm positive we're not the only one. The builder is out of business, but he did make her whole. He did make her right. But it was honestly, because of the threats coming, and it was my daughter, but I think coming from a real estate agent, builders have a lot more to lose from you as a real estate agent than they do one buyer, right?
Yeah.
Because you represent a large mass of people.
Absolutely.
So again, back to why it's super important. So anything else that you're seeing? What do you think about interest rates? What do you think is going to happen here? Or do you, and we don't have a crystal ball, so obviously nobody's going to hold you to it.
Yeah. Well, didn't it just go up a quarter, or the Fed raised the rate about a quarter?
Yes.
So, I mean, I think it'll keep going up a little bit more. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I'm hoping if we do go much higher, I hope it peaks at 8, which is still below the 40-year average. But it's going to be interesting to see what happens as the year goes, because the momentum has definitely picked up, no question.
I agree with you. What do you think, Johnny?
Well, the Fed raised interest rates by a quarter, and I think around the same time, mortgage rates dropped by a tad.
Yeah.
So, which again, I mean, it seems like with the mortgage rates, it's just been so up and down recently. But I think, I agree with Ryan. I think, there might be a little bit of a raise. I don't think there's going to be a huge, massive raise. I think there might be a little bit, but, real estate market wise, the good thing is, the inventory is still low.
Yeah.
So
that's exactly right.
So
it's driving. Yes, I agree. Yeah. And I think it's super interesting because in 17 years, typically I might have 3-4 clients a year to pay cash or something. It's not a huge percentage, but in the past 12 months, I would say more like 50% are paying
Yeah.
cash. And everybody that I am, everybody, he's correcting himself right there. Everybody that I'm talking to, and I'm like, wait, what do you like? Why are all these people paying cash when they really haven't in the past? And the general consensus that I'm getting from everybody, everybody being my clients, is that they are realizing that it is better right now to put it into a home than it is into the stock. So they are pulling it from the stock market and putting it into a home, which they're finding to get a little bit more value out of than the stock markets are.
Absolutely, especially with the inflation and the things
That's
going
right.
on. Yeah.
That's exactly right. So I would agree. I think it's going to go up a little bit more. Hey, Kelly, I'm trying to get everybody up here.
Hey, Kelly.
Yeah. And we got my buddy Mark.
Cruise.
Yeah. I just proposed to Mark Cruz the other day, which is everybody that knows Mark knows that I'm being funny because my boyfriend's name is Mark too. But he is my conference husband, and I'm ready to get him back. I miss him so much. But my thought is that with the interest rate is that it will go up. I think by the end of the year it'll go back down. I think it'll be stagnant. I think it'll start slowing down about 6% if I had to guess. But I think it'll get to 8% before we see that.
Yeah. That seems to be the momentum we're seeing.
Yeah. And he did accept. He told me yes. He didn't know I was going to break it to my mark. But the biggest issue was where we're going to live. We're going to live in Colorado. I don't like cold. So yeah, that's right. That's right. Just teasing, but I do love Mark. So in summing up, what is the takeaway? What would you like your buyers, your sellers to know?
Good, Johnny. Are we good? Okay.
Either way.
Yeah, I think the main thing is the market is very strong, healthy. Buyers are buying, sellers are selling, the investors are coming back. We're getting a really, really good start of the year, and I think it's going to continue throughout the year. And if you're looking to buy or sell, you can definitely either maximize your profit or and especially it's really why you're selling. If you're going to put it into something else, or if you're going to just cash out, but if you are going to reinvest it, it's a great time to do that. It's probably the best market I've ever seen to downsize, because the high end is through the roof right now.
That's right.
And then the downsize is it just makes sense for a lot of people right now. So if you're considering downsizing, now's the time.
I would agree. What do you think, Johnny? What's the one piece, a takeaway that you want to give your buyers and sellers?
I think the sentiment out there for buyers and sellers is much lower than the reality. I think just how I was telling you about the 78-year-old seller that I was speaking with. I had a pretty long and nice conversation with her, and she was telling me about the real estate market right now and how she's seeing in the media that it's crashing and all this other stuff, and that is so far from the reality. I mean, I have the data right here. The average sales price, like I mentioned, they haven't gone up or down since last year. So, for sellers, the prices are, it's very market dependent now. But if you look back the past 5 or 6 years, prices are still doing extremely well.
Yep.
And even for buyers, kind of like what you mentioned, a lot of people are taking money out of the stock market and putting it on the, in real estate. That just makes sense because real estate's, supply and demand, and
that's right.
Actively we're seeing low inventory and get lower. Granted, it's gone up a little bit since last year with the interest rates, but overall, again, it hasn't affected prices too much, and like I said, it's still the best investment. One of the best investments you can make.
Over a long period of time, you're exactly right. Yeah. And we're not saying flip a house and you're gonna make a lot of money. We're saying in a investment that you're going to stay in 5, 6, 7 years, it is a phenomenal investment. And I don't see any indication that it's going down. Like inventory, our inventory, we're at, depends on which county you look at, but if you take our Tri-County area, we're at 1.9 months supply of inventory. It's not considered a balanced market to it, somewhere between 4 and 6 months. So we're a long way from that. It's still a seller's market. and prices are still continuing to rise, at least here. And there it looks like it's stabilizing a little bit. But also, I bet, are you also sensitive to seasonal changes? I would think too.
Yeah, it's about 2.5 in our market of inventory. Yeah.
So you're still seller's market.
Oh,
Absolutely.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So I think I always tell, my biggest takeaway is that if you are going to buy or sell in 2023, you need to interview agents. You do not need to go with the cheapest agent. That has proven time and time and time again. Most of those discount brokerages have gone out of business in the past 12 months, right?
Absolutely.
So, you need an experienced agent with a sales record and a track record, and somebody that really does take your best interest. And I believe it was Ryan and Johnny, both with your 78-year-old person, come in there and you tell them the honest truth, what you could sell their house for, what you could help them buy, what they could do with it, how much money they're going to make, and help them figure it out so that you could best align them to put in the best position, whether they're buying or selling in 2023. They need to contact you now to set it up, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I love having you guys, and thank you so much. And Johnny, I haven't seen you. When was the last time I saw you? Were you in Texas?
Vegas.
You are R4?
R4. Yep.
I am telling you, this year's R4 was a blur for me. Like
yeah.
Well, not it did sound like because of alcohol, but not because of alcohol, but because I tried to meet with too many people, and I had set up like breakfast, lunch, dinner, drinks, breakfast, lunch, dinner, drinks every day. And then one day I completely just hit a wall and I had to cancel everything because I was exhausted, and the time difference, and you're in Vegas, and you've got 9,500 agents from around the world there. I thought it was a lot.
Intense.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. It was such a huge event.
This was the busiest one for me.
Yes.
It's crazy.
Yes, but I did get to hug on Ryan. And Ryan, I did see you at the concert down there, and I was trying to get your attention, but I also didn't stay at the concert very long because I was tired. So
yeah, the concert was a lot of fun.
Yes, it was fun, but like I said, our flight was leaving at like 5:00 the next morning, so I only stayed about 30 minutes. But I was up in the bleachers, and I saw you down there dancing and having fun, and I was trying to wait. Yes,
I was just going to tell you, thank you so much for inviting me. I've been wanting to do this for a long time now, and I've been watching your show. And when I got the invite, I was really, really excited and honored. So thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Yeah,
I am so glad. And next time, just text me, be like, "Girl, I want to be on that." I'll be like, "Yes." Which day do you want to be on? So thank you guys, and I love y'all, and I appreciate y'all being on it.
Very good. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Y'all have a great week.
You too.
Thank you.
Bye.